Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday night community race for Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. We've got a great race set up for you today. My name is Rex Rule, and I'm joined at the booth by Nth. Nth, this is a pretty different flag set that we're seeing tonight, right?
It absolutely is, and if any of you who are watching today are familiar with the Sea Hero flags that have been run on the ladder, it might look a bit familiar to you from that. But for those of you who have not really seen any of the Sea Hero races or anything like that, basically that Fusoya that we see right there is going to be in their party for the rest of the game. When they all of their agility will be calculated around that Fusoya as well, so there's no real messing with figuring out an anchor, leaving them on the ground, that sort of thing. That is going to be something they have to figure out with gear and like that. And when they get up to Mount Ordeals, there'll be like a solo fight with that Fu. But this is not going to be too difficult for them. But there are a few wrinkles if you're used to that Sea Hero ladder flag as well, which is first of all, adamant armors are on in this flag set, so that could be a huge bonus if any of our runners manage to find that tonight. And also, another thing that you might not necessarily be used to if you've watched a lot of races on this channel is that the K-Main and K-Moon flags are on, but the K-Summon flag is off. So there will be no key items from the Fey March bosses. Pretty unlikely that we will see them take those unless they're looking for those that Wyvern and Evil Wall, although I guess King at Town of Monsters is probably a good objective as well. But, there's definitely a few little changes here and there, but it's a pretty interesting flag set.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got four great runners that we're showcasing tonight. We got others who are running, not being featured tonight, but they're part of this race as well. But we're going to take a look at Quest for Workin, Escorian, Rybon, and Jabrun TR. So we're going to have a great four to take a look at and see how they do and see how they navigate these a little bit different flags than we've been seeing.
Yeah, and I want to give a quick welcome to all the people raiding over from Invenerable's channel. Welcome. We're getting ready to start here on this wonderful To the Moon and Back flag set. So, hope you enjoy the show from here. Real quick, I want to look at these objectives here. We've got the two boss hunts and the Evil Wall and Wyvern checks. Not necessarily the boss hunts you want, because you find those in the wrong spot, it could be a little bit rough. And then, the standard Forge the Legend Sword, which in the Sea Hero flag set will give them a weapon designed for Fusoya that's not in the SNES version from the Game Boy Advance versions and later. So that'll be interesting to see. And then just, a couple little K-Summon locations, even though the K-Summon flag is off.
Right, so they won't be expecting to get any key items for completing Cave Bahamut or defeating the King at the Town of Monsters. However, at least one of them will have to be done because this is 4 out of 5 objectives required to get the crystal. Yeah, and I think those are a couple things that's going to be tough. We got some boss hunts and some very difficult boss locations that we have to tackle. So this is not going to be a very easy flag set unless, the randomizer is going to be very nice to the runners. But it looks like we're off now.
Yeah, and just one more thing I want to quickly point out about this maybe being a bit more difficult is the key item bonus from getting those 10 key items is off as well. So that level grind is going to be a little bit longer later. But we do see Iridia start here and a pink tail. And that pink tail is actually a really good thing to find early in this flag set that has the no adamant flag turned off. Because once they find that hook, that is a free adamant armor.
Absolutely. It's going to be a very nice find when they get that hook, especially if they find a character who's going to be really suitable to use it. I mean, Fusoya isn't going to be bad to use it to start with, but it could mess up some of your agility calculations. But Fusoya is probably going to mess up some agility calculations anyways.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much of the Sea Hero flags with a Fusoya hero, mostly because usually when I'm watching Sea Hero, I'm watching ladder races, and in the ladder flag set, Fusoya is turned off in the Sea Hero flags, if I'm remembering correctly. So this is going to be interesting to see, because I actually don't remember how Fusoya's agility goes as he levels up here.
I believe it remains static at 20. But at any rate, we've got some of our runners going into Baron, finding Edge in the Baron Inn as the character there. Also found a couple of Ogre Axes, some good weapons being found in chests early.
Yeah, and that's kind of surprising to me because the T Pro flag is on with these flags, and I was not expecting to find, like an Ogre Axe early on here and something like that. And find someone who can use it, that would be good. That's the only thing we're really missing at this point.
Yeah, I believe Ogre Axe on T Pro is about the upper tier of quality of weapons. So finding a couple of those early, but neither Rydia nor Fusia can swing those. So we got some divergence here. Also, Rybon going into the back end now of the watery cave. He had gone into the opening of it as well. So doing a little bit of looting there, and Escorian heading right up to Mount Hobbs and finds Porum.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's necessarily going to be the most exciting pickup here. If you really, really need a white mage, you probably want Rosa of the two. It's not to say Porum is bad, it's just that Porum is not ideal here, especially in something where we already have a Fu who can handle a lot of that healing as well.
Yeah, seeing a lot of divergence. Quest for Work and heading over to Mist to do some shopping. Jay Brun heading over to Castle Eblin for some more looting, and Rybon going to be heading over to Damsian now to get that hovercraft ready. Still no hook, but will be ready as soon as the hook is in the possession.
Yeah, definitely. And, finding that hook early could be a big game changer. We're seeing this much divergence early on. Let's say someone fades Antlion Cave, they find a hook in Fabul, and they immediately have that adamant armor. They could really turn that into a big advantage later on down the line if they just go grab that adamant armor, maybe even just consider just putting it on that Fu early to get that bonus and just basically walk over the seed from there up to the Z fight.
And getting that adamant armor could be a real boon, considering we've got to do either or the bosses of the Cave Bahamut and the King of Town of Monsters. Those are a couple of the most strong physical locations for bosses, period. And so getting that huge defense buff of the adamant armor will make those a lot more attainable.
And one thing I want to note up on Christopher Workin's corner of the screen here is finding that Keblin and Queblin fight here in the Mist Cave is taking that. So it looks like his plan early on is to take these easy boss fights and start getting that Fu better spells, start getting him scaled up so that he can really push forward.
Speaking of getting Fu powered up, another boss defeated by Escorian, as he is able to take out that Antlion and add Porum to her team.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing if she goes back for those other boss locations or if she just pushes forward. It looks like, Christopher's going for those. Jaybrun sort of checked and ended up for Rybon kind of following that shopping trip. So it looks like she might actually be just taking a bit more of a standard way through this seed, so to speak, and just start on Mount Hobbs, get that character, and then start going key item checks instead of trying to get this extra couple spells on.
Yeah, and she also checks this entrance to Mount Hobbs for the free summon for Rydia. Gets Odin. There's certain situations where Odin is very useful, but got to be a little bit disappointed not getting something that's going to be more consistently useful throughout the seed, something like a Sylph or a Titan or something like that.
And I believe there was a Sylph in the Watery Pass as well. So not looting that Watery Pass is going to be a little bit of a downside for her, but she can make up for it with just sheer force of, being faster through this. And I kind of wonder even if that Rydia is going to be necessary in this situation where you have a Fu. Like, Fu can just be such an overwhelming, game-changing character at times that starting with him immediately kind of makes a bit of this early game almost a bit academic.
Well, it kind of depends on what spells are available to that Fusia. And we see a Curse Ring there on Escorian's screen in Antlion Cave. That's one way to manipulate Fusia's agility if necessary. We'll see if it comes to that, but You're right that if they're able to get the right spells on Fusia, yeah, he's going to make the early part of the seed very easy. But it all depends on when you get either the level 2 elemental spells, something like Quake, Virus, or of course the ultimate nuke.
Yeah, even just like finding white too can be a bit of a bonus. It's not quite as strong as nuke, but it could be useful. There's a lot of little outs here and there, but you're definitely right there. It does require getting those, and if those spells are buried in the list, then the strategy of take that Mist Cave fight, get those extra spells could pay off.
And honestly, if he doesn't have access to some of those decent spells early, this team is not a very strong team. Rybon's the first one to head on over to Fabul, and we see Pale Dim as the boss there for the Fabul defense. Pale Dim is going to do some physical attacks and counter a lot of things with Glow. Now, Rybon is the one runner who has access to that Sylph Summon right now, and that's going to pay dividends in this fight for sure.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ascorian has made her way down to the bottom of the Antlion Cave and has found this officer and soldiers fight, which I believe would be a good use of Odin, but I don't think Rydia even has the MP for it at this point, so that's not really going to help there, but a nice free fight to get through here nonetheless.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rydia not able to survive for the end of the fight against Antlion on Mount Hob, so still base level, as we see the same thing happening to Jay Brun in the lower right. Questover had already gotten the levels from the earlier fight in... was Questover the one who went to Mist Cave and did that? Got a little bit of experience on Rydia from that, it looks like.
Yep, he sure did, and that is looking like it's going to pay off here and kind of snowball into a bit more experience. But Rybon also having the same trouble of keeping up this Rydia and Porum in this Pale Dim fight here. Both of them on the floor, and they're even further leveled than they are up on Questover Warkin's side.
Yeah, that's the thing. Especially Porum and Rydia do not have much HP this early game, so even back row against an early boss like Pale Dim here is not going to be easy.
And on Ascorian's side, having gotten through this Antlion Cave, you want more agility manipulation, because there's a crystal ring here for you as well. And also, very importantly, exit. So we know that we're going to get exit on that Fusoya very early for all of our runners, so there's not going to be a lot of slow walking out of places in this seed.
Yeah, at least for the places where you can use exit. Final Fantasy IV, of course, notorious for having several dungeons where you just can't use exit.
All 5 places where you can actually use exit as intended will be wonderful in this seed.
No doubt, no doubt. Looks like Ascorian wants to try to take on this Valvolus in the Watery Pass that a couple of other runners decided to pass on because who wants to deal with Valvolus? But if the goal is to get Fusia powered, what you got to do is fight bosses. And so this could be, depending on what spells are learned, this could be very useful.
Yeah, and what we mentioned earlier about that hook, Rybon finding the hook in Fabul, so we'll have access to that adamant armor as soon as he goes and turns that in.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's going to be a priority for everybody once they do that Fabul defense.
There is the question, though, of who do you put the adamant armor on in this seed? Because you kind of probably want to park it for the most part once you get it where it's going. Is it a huge deal getting it now, or do you sort of check some of the other possible character locations, which, honestly, right now, that edge looking pretty appetizing as well if you wanted to try and push through that Baron in spot.
That's a good point. Having it on edge wouldn't be a bad idea, but there's also the fact that no matter what, you're going to have Fusia in your party the entire game, and so just putting it on him, getting a nice buff to his magic stats, plus the defense could be very useful. The question is it going to be worth it if you want to change it to somebody else later? Because one thing that's notable about the adamant armor is after you've got it equipped, if you unequip it, the character becomes extra vulnerable to elemental damage. And so that might not be something you want to deal with. So that's kind of why I think Eth was talking about making sure you know who you want to put it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one other thing that's worth noting in terms of whether or not you want to put it on the Fusoya is that if your goal is to sort of protect people against losing XP in fights, that's not going to be a concern for that Fusoya, because with the Sea Hero flag on, no matter what, that Sea Hero character gets experience every single fight. If they're on the floor, they still get experience. They're still, sort of on the floor looking up, peeking, watching the fight, learning what they can from it. And so if you kind of want to use that to protect your characters early on so that you get that little bit of an XP advantage from just keeping them alive to these early fights, then putting it on someone else is going to be a lot more impactful.
That's true. And also, like, experience game for Fusia is probably the most unimportant part about his growth. With the Fusia challenge on, just getting those bosses is what is really all that matters. You might be able to get him a couple extra 100 HP throughout the game through experience levels, but it just doesn't happen very often. He starts off at level 50. The amount of experience needed for him to gain levels is so high right up the beginning that the little amounts of experience that you're getting for these bosses really don't matter for Fusia.
Yeah, absolutely in this case. And the real question for me is when is Rybon going to start making a move for this hook? And for that, it looks like he's going to just keep going through bosses at this point in time, continue getting that Fu scaled up, which tells me that, yeah, he definitely does not want that adamant armor quite yet. And getting stone early on as well is good. Getting stone immediately after you just beat one of the fights where stone would have made it pretty much instant, that would have been very nice to have beforehand.
Without a doubt. It looks like we've got 3 runners now in that spot, but it looks like Christopher Warkin heading over to Silvera, but no hook yet, so just going in for a shopping route. And looting. There's, of course, 3 chests in Silveria as well.
Question is, will there be anything particularly worthwhile in these Silvera chests or in these Silvera shops? A thing worth noting is that the S standard flag is on for the shops. We're not on S Pro or anything more difficult in terms of shopping. And so, based off of that, there could be some pretty good stuff in these early shops. Those long swords could be very useful if you wanted to just buy a couple of them to pop them on that edge once you get them. The only downside is also in this flag set, the SL quarter flag is on, so you have to be a bit careful with your money.
Yeah, and things like those long swords can be very pricey when you consider that S quarter. And it looks like both Escorian and Rybon doing some looting in Mist Cave. Not something we see too often, but while you're in there, you might as well take care of it. I saw at least an Earth Hammer, so there was something decent in there. If you find a Sid, it's good. If you don't, it's something that you could sell for at least some money. Even with the S quarter, it's still a decent chunk.
And it looks like Escorian's going to head up to Kaipo to do some shopping, so we might get our first peek at the bed character here. Let's see what she's going to show us for this. And it's another edge.
Yeah, so a couple edges going around, and I believe we will not see another copy of Fusia anywhere as the hero in this set. This is the only Fusia that's available, but I'd have to review the flags. Can we have duplicates? Can we have more than one edge in our party tonight?
We can have 4 edges in our party tonight because the C relaxed flag is on and the C maybe flag is on. So we have no clue how many dupes are in this seed. It could really just be edges all the way down from here.
Oh, but it looks like the no dupes flag is on, so we'll see multiple edges, but only one in the party, right?
Yes, I did miss that one though. Yeah. But it could just be all edges. It could be stuck with these 3 and edge, and then everything else is edge from here.
That is a possibility. That's something that these flags could do. It's unlikely, but that is definitely something that could happen. But I think regardless, once Edge is in the team, the squad that we've got here is pretty good. And I think we've got an Alt Gauntlet and Baron, which is something that I've been seeing on a regular basis in my games very often recently.
See, I always get the Alt Gauntlet at the bottom of Antlion Cave. So this is a nice change of pace, but I believe this is in the second spot too.
Yes,
And I believe the alt gauntlet in the second spot here gives XP, which this spot does normally not give. So that'll be a real big help for getting that Ridian Porum to the point where they're gonna be a bit more viable, because right now the kind of theme of the early game of this seed has been, how do you keep this Ridian Porum alive?
and it looks like Fusia up to getting ice too, and that's going to really help for this early game as well. These monsters that you're seeing are from the Barren Sewers. That's where the Alt Gauntlet pulls from in this place. Meanwhile, Quest for Working up on Mount Ordeals finds Ogo Pogo in the first boss spot, and that, that's a spot that you usually expect is going to be a pretty easy fight, but Ogo Pogo out of nowhere is just always going to take you down to half your health or do 50% of your max health damage at the opening of the battle.
Yeah, he does take a reset there, but it looks like it's just to heal. He's going to just go right back into this fight. I got to think this is probably one of the better spots to find Ogo Pogo in the seed. It's just more of a matter he wasn't set up for it. And we're going to see if Jbrun can get through it easily as well, with pretty much already being healed up.
The trouble is, the normal strategy for dealing with Ogo Pogo is to use physical attacks. And it looks like Rydia does have a whip up on Questifer's side. And it looks like switching to an archer for Porum. Like, you got to be a little bit creative with how to deal with Ogo Pogo here, because Ogo Pogo does counter magic attacks and summons.
Yeah, that is going to make it quite a bit slower than it could be otherwise. And it might mean that, Rybon, having gone through this Baron in fight, is going to have a huge advantage, because he will have a physical attacker by then.
Yeah, having Edge in the team will make this Ogo Pogo in this spot be very simple. So yeah, and it looks like Rybon is having no problem getting through this gauntlet. So yeah, and there's definitely incentive to go up to Mount Ordeals with Fusia as the hero, because there's 3 bosses there. That's 3 more powers up for Fu. So I imagine that's going to be something that Rybon does soon, unless we see something like a Magma Key here in Baron.
Yeah, my only other potential worry here is we've now seen 2 different players fading this Baron fight that Ascorian's in right now. And that means, both Jbrun and Questifer are basically fading that hook for right now. If they find a Magma Key, they might be tempted to leave that hook behind. And if the other 2 have that Adamant armor and can coast that through, that's going to be a real big advantage for them.
That's a good point as well. So yeah, we'll see where this takes. Jbrun having to take an unfortunate wipe there. Was trying to power through with the Drain spell, which is probably the most damage that Fusia can do right now in one shot, but it just wasn't enough to overcome the counter blazes. And now Rybon through that gauntlet, and now is going to get Edge in the party, and we're going to check that key item, and we have a Twin Hunter. So we've got another option to check before going underground for a possible Magma Key, because right now it's, as far as we know, it's a hook route, but we've got a couple places to check still.
Yeah, I'm almost a bit surprised too, thinking about it, that Rybon did not bother. Well, I guess he wasn't too worried about these fights, but another out that Rybon and Ascorian will both have going for these Mount Ordeals fights is that, well, in Ascorian's case, she'll be able to possibly take that hook route a little bit and check the character first if she desires. It looks like Rybon's just going to head straight to Mount Ordeals, but she could go and get that character. If that's a strong physical attacker, if she goes and does Baron in, then she'll be able to just get through this Ogo Pogo that Quest for Workin has gotten through at this point in time a lot quicker, and it looks like it is going to be a back attack Bahamut today.
Yeah, that's a relief after getting that very difficult first fight. Now a much easier second fight here in Mount Ordeals. As far as Ascorian goes, of course, she doesn't know that Ogo Pogo is there at that first spot. So we might see her follow the same play that Questifer and Jbrun did and go right there before completing Baron in. But I think this is really going to save some time for Rybon here. Having access to that edge for this Ogo Pogo fight is just going to be huge. Ooh, but Questiver, even Bahamut there, forcing a reset, not able to get enough oomph under that one, it looks like.
Yeah, I think was he trying to wait that out with Starveils and they ran out because it looked like
I,
he just sort of was waiting there at that point.
I think that's what happened. So it doesn't happen too often, but occasionally that Starveil will run out. And if it runs out before the Mega Nuke happens, then that's not going to be good for your team.
Yeah, it looks like Jabron has. I don't believe he got through that Ogopogo fight.
No.
It looks like he's given up and is just going to go do this Fabul fight right now. And, I got to respect that. Cut your losses. Go do some other fights. Try and get something that pushes you through a little bit. And he'll be rewarded with that hook once he gets through this Pale Dim fight.
Yeah, so he'll have access to the Adamant Armor should he choose to go that route. Or he could go to Baron Inn and just try something else. And then once he gets access to that edge, that fight's going to be a lot easier. Quest for Orchid on that second opportunity does take care of Bahamut. And Rybon making quick work of Ogopogo, kind of as expected, with that edge in the party, just makes it so much easier. And so is really gaining some ground on Quester on Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, he's really taken the advantage with that. And, that was real good routing for him in this case for the seed. It's just worked out perfectly. It looks like Esco is going to head over to Silvera. We are going to see a Luca key here from the top of Mount Ordeals, so that'll be something interesting once we go underground. But here's the question. Is this leg or is this a quarter of a leg?
This is leg indeed. We have Rubicant here, and this is something the hero must fight this fight alone.
And in this case, the hero has Ice 2, and that is not a fair fight for Rubicant's side.
Yeah. To be honest, the vanilla game, it isn't much of a fair fight either. You don't even need to swing your sword once and you'll win.
So, Questiver has the first through Mount Ordeals, has managed to get through all of that. Rybon going to be very close on his heels. Esco just sort of doing a bit of shopping now, having gotten that hook in Fabul, which Jabron is currently going for. I believe we're going to start seeing people making moves here, though, because I think Rybon is either going to have to head to that Twin Harp or head for underground at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe those are the only things that we haven't checked. There is still a possibility of, I mean, if you wanted to really exhaust your opportunities, you could go up to the Tower of Zot and see if D Mist is hiding out in the Mega Sister spot, but that may be a bridge too far for our range.
I think I'm trying to think of a situation in which that would be like a required move, and I think that at this point in time, you could do all 4 other objectives before you would need that, so it's not going to end up being seen unless it's like a Wyvern or a D-Mist gating Earth Crystal with a Wyvern holding a piece of forge at the top of Tower of Zot. If that comes true, please do not blame me. Anyone who is racing in this race and is watching it back later, it is not my fault.
You don't know how often I've given runners the commentator's curse. Ooh, an interesting item found in Quest for Warkid is in a Dancing Dagger. That's something that could have been very useful on Rydia earlier. And I don't think Quester has access to that Sylph spell that we've seen Rybon use. So that might be something to really help the offensive output for Quest for Warkid's team.
Yeah, and interestingly for him, he has still not gone for Baron, and I gotta assume he's going to be heading for that very soon. Probably thinking that Dancing Dagger is going to be very, very helpful, and then he's going to run face first into the Alt Gauntlet and see that it is not going to be as helpful as he'd hoped in this seed.
Right.
But it will still help for a little bit.
Meanwhile, Escorian now in that Alt Gauntlet fight, trying to get her edge, as Rybon is flying that black chocobo over to Cave Magnus, and we're going to get a music check before too long here.
And for those of you who are new to the randomizer, first of all, welcome. Hope you're enjoying the race so far. And secondly, if you're not familiar, we like to randomize a few other things aside from the gameplay in this. And one of them is replacing Edward's harp song here that plays in the cutscene at the bottom of Cave Magnus with a randomly selected track from a pool of, I don't even remember how many at this point in time, because there are so many harp songs and all of them are amazing. And we're going to get a taste of that very, very soon here.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, it does look like Quest for Warped is heading to Baron Inn right now, as is Jabrun. So everybody's going to get that edge on their team before too long. Historian making use of the stone spell to get rid of some of these mobs. So there's different avenues that you have in order to deal with these fights that you don't normally see in the randomizer. I think that's one of the most fun things about the alternative gauntlet.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the runner's probably least favorite flags, but definitely my favorite one to watch, just because it creates so many unique and interesting situations that just having a standard boss there does not create. But meanwhile, Rybon is through that first part of the Dark Elf fight, and I think it's time for us to be quiet for a couple moments and listen in on this music.
A little bit of Spoony Bee's rocking tunes. And Rybon has defeated a scary turtle called Keen Azo to the tune of Crash Man from Mega Man. Mega Man 2 specifically.
Indeed he did. We're going to see what the reward is here, and it is the Earth Crystal, so that's pretty good pickup for right here, because now he can just head straight over and see what that party rock gives. And I also want to give a quick moment to give a shout out to Commander Leonhardt. Thank you for the raid, and welcome everyone to this very exciting race so far. Very close, very interesting, as we've had a lot of divergence between our runners.
Yeah, so far, it seems like Rybon's in a little bit of a lead of the four runners that we're showcasing here, due to the fact that he decided to do he got the Sylph Summon in the Watery Pass, which the other runners did not get, so that was a big advantage, as well as going to the Baron Inn and grabbing Edge before heading to Mount Ordeals, where there was a Ogopogo in the first spot, and that Edge really helped for him.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Ascorian up there. This is, I believe, her first time ever being featured on one of our restreams. And I know before the race, she was a bit worried about, not keeping up with everyone. And she's still neck and neck with everyone else here. It's a very close race. And I just wanted to give that a quick shout out, especially because I know she's going to be watching it back later. And I think that we all ought to give her our love on that.
Meanwhile, everybody get your ranking out of 10 for this treasury that Rybon is currently looting. Seeing some good stuff. Heroine robe, strength ring in there, another earth hammer, sorcerer robe, but back is Zeus gauntlet. That's a pretty good haul there for this one, I would say.
Yeah, definitely, especially with that T-Pro flag on. It is a bit of that inventory boss situation here, but that Zeus gauntlet will be very big, especially with that edge. You get a couple good ninja swords, you put adamant armor Zeus gauntlet edge on with a foo that's fully charged up, and this seed is not really challenging from that point onwards.
Yeah, it becomes more of finding what needs to be found rather than how am I going to overcome this. So, yeah, a different sort of challenge at that time, right?
Yeah, definitely. We are going to see Rybon heading straight up, checking this Earth Crystals. I kind of expect Borkham will follow as soon as he goes there. I kind of expect that both Esco and Jabron will head straight over there as well right after. So, but Jabron is the first person, I believe, to turn in this Pinktail.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that none of the other runners have gone and picked that up quite yet. I think once you have Edge in the party, it becomes a lot easier because you're either going to put it on Fusia or Edge at that point, right?
I gotta think so. I think it's almost certainly going to be on the Edge then.
And then we'll be quiet a little bit as you hear a little bit of a reprise of Crash Man. And as Questifer beats that boss, Rybon found Wyvern in the Vanilla Magasister spot, so that's going to be objective 1 completed for Rybon, despite the fact of using a summon against Wyvern, getting that counter Mega Nuke. Luckily, like between the Sorcerer Robe and I believe the Crystal Ring on Fusia, able to avoid that, just being able to dodge that Mega Nuke and able to take it out with the hero himself. So very well done there by Rybon getting through that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to say he got lucky and it missed Fu, but it kind of is quite lucky that he missed Fu at that point in time. We're going to see Iridia in this first spot here, and it looks like a Magus Sister is down in Dwarf Castle, so they've decided to take a vacation underground from their usual spot up here today. So that's pretty good. That's probably a very good spot for them. They're all going to have very low HP there, and that's going to be a very, very quick fight once they get to it.
Jabron now making his return to Mount Ordeals. Now he's got the squad to better take care of that. Ascorian taking care of that Valvelus to continue powering up food, gets Medio on him. So that's pretty nice. An edge for the second character. So no new characters up at the Tower of Zotin. So that's kind of unfortunate because that's usually one of the things you want to go to Zot for, is getting more characters.
Yeah, at least you get a free fight out of it in the end.
Yeah.
But it could be, I mean, if we see another dupe on that hook route, this could mean that we have the fun of a 4-character hook route coming up for our players here.
Yeah, and that's going to be a challenge in its own. Although the fact that we've got access to an adamant armor does make it a bit easier than it could be. Speaking of that adamant armor, we see Ascorian heading right over to the Adamant Grotto to go ahead and claim that prize.
And I believe she is the second to do so at this point. I don't think Rybon or Workin have gone over to it. I know Jabron did before heading back up Mount Ordeals, possibly still a little bit tentative about that Ogopogo. So
yeah, unless I missed it, unless I missed something, I think you're right on that. Jabron now has completed Mount Ordeals and now just walking on down. Ascorian wanted to buy those long swords in Silvera, so gonna have a stronger ninja with those double long swords being equipped, and that's a pretty nice little upgrade from the short swords that he starts with.
Yeah, it seems like her strategy is a bit more focused around that edge than everyone else's strategy has been. Everyone else is like, we're just going to fully leverage this foo as much as humanly possible, not really worry about anything else. And her goal seems to be to get that edge online in addition to the foo and hope that gives her a bit of an advantage from here. And I kind of like that play overall.
The one place that I think it's going to have a big advantage for her on is that Keinazo fight, because just having more power on Fusia for that fight is going to make that go quite a bit easier. But it looks like she's carrying her airship. She might be going to make that character check that you mentioned before. So she might be the first one to head over to Evelyn, and we're going to see something new before she goes. Then, of course, she proves to be wrong by flying somewhere else.
Yeah, I think she was just dropping the airship off there, assuming that she won't get the rat tail and might need it later. And meanwhile, Rybon has continued this really, really well laid out chain that's been going starting from music. We got the Earth Crystal from music. Hey, already at Earth Crystal. Got the Baron key from Earth Crystal, which drops you off right in front of Baron. So now he's going to go through this, get that other character check, and get those 2 more spells on his foo. I don't think that he will do anything more than face check that Odin spot if he even bothers at all, since that is K summon is off. There is no key item from it. But, might want to check it for that evil wall.
Yeah, exactly. Looking for that evil wall would be the reason to check for that. Or demist, I suppose that's another one that you'd want to know the location of. And you might be able to take demist if you... Well, Rybon doesn't have that adamant armor, so it might be a little bit more difficult for him than Jabron or Ascorian.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things where, if you find Evil Wall at the Odin spot, it is better than not finding Evil Wall at the Odin spot.
Right.
But also, do you really want to fight Evil Wall at the Odin spot today?
I think that's one of the things where it's like, they will be able to defeat it. We've got a strong squad. Just with Fusia and Edge, you've got a strong squad with just those 2. And so it's something that they'll be able to do before too long, but it probably will need some help getting it, and that adamant armor is a big piece of that help.
Yeah, and Rybon from that first fight in here has managed to get Cure 4, which is the last piece, and I believe it's time for one final listen to this harp song here.
Enjoy. Edward's really working his fingers strong tonight. You can see both Jabron and Ascorian getting through that Kinazo fight really fast. Ascorian blazingly quick, getting that lit 3, even the third level magic, able to get past the strong magic defense of Kinazo in that spot. But that Berserk double longsword adamant armor edge doing some real damage. Meanwhile, Rybon has completed the Baron sequence, got Cecil, but we don't have a great sword for him yet, do we?
We do not. I did not see what the item reward was from that. Did you catch that?
I missed it as well. I got excited with Cecil and then um, didn't do a whole lot after that. So we'll have to check. We'll see if our tracker Snape can keep us informed.
It is the pan, so that's a pretty good bonus going underground. Something you want to see. It's a bit of a shame that the single dip Fabul was impossibleness, and it does mean that if nothing comes from that pan, this could still have just been a long chase for nothing. That's
true.
Not necessarily required so far. We have not actually seen it pay off, but we have seen that sort of like soft requirement where the Earth Crystal led you to one of the objectives here, even if you wouldn't have needed it for that.
Rybon now heading to Eblin, finding a full moon in the shop. So that's a decent weapon for Edge. It also can give him the back row glitch, which is once you equip a weapon that can deal damage from the back row, even if you unequip it, you still can deal the damage from the back row. So finding either a full moon or a boomerang is really nice for Edge, as they are the weapons that can allow him to do that.
I also want to point out Jabron doing a lap around the treasury, which is quite entertaining, but also not going to be as entertaining in hindsight when he realizes that he just passed up a Zeus gauntlet for that edge.
Yeah.
And later Cecil.
Yeah, there was some pretty good stuff in there. The heroine robe could also be very useful, depending on how you decide to use Porum or Rydia throughout the second half of the thing. Remember that Rydia, other than on Rybon, does not have access to that Sylph Summon.
That is true, but you have the heroine robe. You could go for the true meme. You find a good whip, and you go with the heroine robe Zeus Gauntlet Rydia build, which is probably really, really, really bad, but it could actually be interesting.
So, there was a dragon whip in that same, so that is definitely a possibility, and it can do some damage. It's no adamant armor double longsword edge, but it's better than. If she hasn't learned Virus yet, then that's often the best you can do with her.
Yeah, especially in this seed where I'm not even sure you would otherwise want to keep that Rydia. Like, I'm looking at this team, I'm trying to figure out, if we find another character, which one of these would you throw away? I gotta think in this case that Rydia is looking like a tempting #1 pick there, either her or the Porum at this point.
I imagine so. Jade Run used a Chocobo, got the Mega Nuke counter, but enough HP for Fu to survive and get that Meteo off is through and completes objective #1 as well. Rybon finding Sid as the character in the Eblin. So now it's an interesting question. Do you want to take Sid over that Rydia or Porum? We'll see.
I think so. I mean, we have a Dwarf Axe to back row glitch that Sid at this point in time. We have some okay fights. We also see that evil wall on this hook route, so that's going to be another objective there, and we're just either moon access or a couple key items away at this point. And really, I think it's an okay pickup.
Looks like Rybon decides to go with the squad that we've got, but finds a light sword in the first chest in Upper Babel, and so that's going to be a really nice pickup for Cecil. Um, yeah, getting that lightsaber is not bad at all.
I think the other sort of hidden bonus of that too is that you won't necessarily have everyone checking these chests in Upper Babel, and he might actually even legitimately be the only person in this race who finds that light sword, and that again could be a pretty big advantage for him. We'll see as everyone else sort of catches up a little bit here. Working through Baron, Jabrun, and Ascorian still neck and neck here at this point in time, here in the Tower of Zot.
I would say in Upper Babel, I think it's more likely that people will check the chest because they're going to be looking for that Mad Ogre chest to get that final bunch of experience for their Rydia and Porum before that evil wall fight.
Yeah, there's the possibility too, if anyone finds that Mad Ogre chest, that they could just take a little bit of time out and try and steal some Bacchus wines to get through that as well, which could be a pretty big bonus too. But yeah, you do have 2 Berserk casters, so it's not I don't think you'll see it, but it is a possibility.
That's true, and it's one of those things where it's like, with the Escorter on, it is a lot more healthy to your wallet to steal them, but it does take a lot more time to get past them that way. And as like you said, with 2 Berserk casters, probably not all that necessary. Looks like the first bot is Mom Bomb on the hooked route, and that's kind of an annoying fight basically wherever you find it. But here it's pretty bad because the physical damage is pretty good. Luckily, Fusia knows nuke, and so that's really going to help at this spot.
Yeah, and on top of it, the Porum that all of our runners have will know Blink at that point in time, almost certainly on everyone's end, and that'll help too. As we see Rybon has put that Blink down onto Fu. That means that he will be through that pretty easily. So whether or not this is going to be scary is going to depend on whether or not someone sees that Sid is like, you know what, maybe I'll get rid of this Porum. If someone decides that, it could be a little bit of a problem here.
Rybon not able to take down Mom Bomb before the explosion, so now has to deal with the 6 bombs, but we've got a ninja who knows flame, so that should help out with that quite easily.
Yeah, I believe, is he using Meteo off of this Fu at this point in time? Because that's an awfully long cast time.
It's like Questifer off to get the adamant armor, so is going to have that in his possession before heading underground. I think a lot of the things that we saw in the early game helped Rybon get an early advantage. We're going to see if that lack of adamant armor in his possession is going to come back to haunt him before too long.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't so far, but we haven't really started hitting the bosses that are going to really, really benefit from that adamant armor until just now anyways. So if we're going to start seeing that advantage pile up for everyone else, this is where it's going to start.
Yeah, this I still don't think it's going to be too big of a problem for him, but it is going to be an interesting thing to see how well Rybon deals with this evil wall compared to the other runners who do have that adamant armor in their possession.
Yeah, definitely. And it really is just a matter of, how quickly can you push that advantage at this point in time? Because Rybon's routing has just worked out for him in such a way that he has amassed a pretty big advantage over everyone else. And because of that, everyone else needs that lack of that adamant armor to start paying off on their favor in order to catch up a little bit of that gap. And it will happen. I think what's really going to make the difference here with how this seed has been laid out, where it kind of takes you on the long tour of the overworld, no matter which way you go, if you end up trying to hunt down that magma key, I think what this is going to come down to is what route everyone takes once they get underground. Because if someone takes like a non-standard route and they're rewarded for it, like say someone does a bit of a gamble and checks that keyless tower and gets a darkness crystal for it, they're going to be in a huge advantage.
It is worth noting that the darkness crystal is really the last piece of the puzzle right now, because since we've completed our 2 boss hunts, and we'll have access to the King of the Town of Monsters through this hook route. If we get the darkness crystal, all we need to do is complete Cave Bahamut, and we've got go mode. There is also the possibility of finding both the Legend of the Adamant before then, in which case you're still going to need either the darkness crystal or the pass, because we haven't found the pass yet either. So I think the darkness crystal is going to be definitely what they're hoping to find.
Yeah, definitely 100%. I mean, I guess there is like a situation in which you could hope you find the pass instead if you just happen to find like both pieces of forage on the pan or something like that. But other than that, we are just that darkness crystal away from go mode for all 4 of our runners on stream and everyone else who's running behind the scenes, not on the stream tonight. And speaking of behind the scenes, I want to give a quick shout out to the behind the scenes folks on the restream today, for Dathis for rolling this very, very wonderful seed so far, and to Snapety for doing a wonderful job tracking as always.
Looks like it is a vanilla Odin down and in the basement of Baron. So Jabron taking an opportunity to test his metal there. Won't give a key item, but it could potentially give a very good piece of gear. And if this ends up being like a crystal sword or something like that, then that could be very huge as well.
Crystal sword, adamant armor, Cecil, you say?
Yeah, that's been known to be okay from time to time. Rybon has defeated Evil Wall and is now the first of our 4 featured runners to make it into the underworld. We see a blue robe at the top of the tower. Since we've already seen the alt gauntlet, we know that is the water hag at the top of the tower. That might be a reason that somebody might want to try that keyless tower, because that is a free boss at the top.
Yeah, I'm kind of a fan of taking keyless tower right after hook route where it's possible myself. I know that I'm not necessarily a top tier runner like the people that we have on restream in this case, but to me, just, you know, landing there and immediately getting rid of the Falcon and getting the Enterprise back is worth just taking that bit of time to me.
Well, I think the fact that the pan is in the possession might mean that you might want to go to some other places first. Looks like we did have the Freedom starting kit, which had a couple sirens. There were also sirens for sale in, I believe, Evelyn. So Rybon taking his time to do a little bit of a grind here. This might be wanting to get to a decent enough level to try to take on that King of Monsters spot the first time down, while also checking the free key item that's down there as well.
He could be going all the way on this too.
That's a possibility.
With that no 10 key item bonus in this flag set, there's no downside to just doing your level grind right now if you're set up for it. So he might just be thinking, okay, I'll get this level grind out of the way right this moment, and I will just be done leveling for the seed. I can just coast the rest of the way to the Z fight.
That's one way of doing it. The other way is kind of analyzing how many more experience am I going to get from bosses that I'm going to take, and is that going to affect how much I want to grind? Because you don't need to grind to a full final end game if the bosses that you're going to defeat, like if we're going to complete Cave Bahamut, there's a decent amount of experience right there as well. So I think either way is something that could be realistic. But yeah, Rybon going to do that. Jabron taking a second shot at this Odin. This is one of those situations where I'm afraid that the runners might forget about some of the flags and is hoping to get a magma key drop here where the case summon is not on. I hope that's not the case in this here, but also I think it looks like he's got a pretty good strategy for dealing with this Odin as quickly as possible this time as well.
Yeah, there's a possibility that even if that's the case, this ends up paying off for him in the long run.
Yeah.
Again, you get that crystal sword from here, and that's enough of a bonus that it'll probably make up for the second attempt at the Odin fight at very least. Meanwhile, Esco, who was neck and neck with Jaybrun at this point in time, she's decided to just one try is enough. I'm just gonna head straight to Cave Eblin, go see the Cid, and we're gonna head underground.
We're working now at the Evil Wall fight. I think is going to be set up a little bit better than Rybon was there, as we see that Evil Wall doing so little damage to Edge, even in the front row. So that's the power of the Adamant Armor. Really, really strong defense there. And we have the first of our runners deciding to add Cid into the party as Escorian ditches Porum for the Engineer.
That Odin did not pay off there at all. That's a grimoire. That is not what you want to see there. Very unfortunate for Jaybrun there.
Yeah, that's too bad. After taking 2 opportunities at that fight, that was time that was lost. That if it ended up paying off, it could have been huge. We were talking about the Crystal Sword, but something like a Mazamune would have been huge. Something like a Stardust Rod would have been huge. Like, there were a lot of things that it could have been that would have really helped his squad out, but that grimoire is just a big disappointment.
I mean, the way I see it in this case, normally you get the Odin summon from there in vanilla. And so in this case, it's like a Christmas movie where, the parents tried to find that Odin summon in the stores. They couldn't find it. They found the grimoire. They're like, you know what? We're going to make the best of this because Christmas is about family. And right now, Jaybrun's strategy is about family. He's just going to head straight to this Eblin cave and make the best of it from there.
Customer Worker has defeated Evil Wall and is now the second of our 4 featured runners in the underground. And it looks like Escorian is not going to be too far behind here.
Yeah, and she's going to be having a little bit of a rougher time with these very physical heavy bosses without having that blink off of Porum, unless she decides to start casting blinks off of Fu, in which case it's going to be a little bit of a issue as well. It's just unfortunate in this case. I can't say I blame her for taking the Cid over the Porum, but just it's not going to be as smooth as Rybon's way through or Workin's way through as well.
Also, losing one of the casters of Berserk is a real trade-off. But you do get that third bruiser, who's also going to be somebody who's quite good at HP growth. So that's one thing that Cid is much better than Porum at, is having hit points.
Yeah, and that Berserk caster might not matter so much in the end. In this flag set where we have S standard on, you might just find Bacchus wines in the shop and just be able to buy a whole bunch of those, and there's your Berserk taken care of for the seed. So that might not end up mattering once we find those Bacchus wines. Until then, it'll be a little bit slower. We do see a full moon picked up off of this Sylph Cave, bottom of Sylph Cave here, and that could be very, very nice in this case, just getting that back row glitch onto that edge.
Yeah, for any of the runners who didn't purchase one in Evelyn, that is going to be another way to get that. And I imagine all of the runners will get that with the pan in their possession.
Definitely, and we are about to see over on Workin's side, as he is elected not to go for the level grind like Rybon is going for. We're about to see what is at the bottom of the Fey March in this chest here, and most importantly, what is at that king spot that is our objective number 4 tonight.
Yeah, that's huge, because the difficulty of that boss is a big... Both that one and the Cape Bahamut one is a big factor of how easy this seed is going to be at the end. But we've seen a lot of the really nasty bosses to see in that spot already. We've already seen, like, Ogopogo. We've already seen Feigen, who's really nasty in that king spot. So it's going to be interesting to see who actually is there.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, we've gotten a lot of those free bosses out of the pool at this point, because we saw the Baron Guards at the top of Tower of Zot. We saw Officer and Soldier out of the pool early. King and Queen Eblin are already gone. We know Water Hag's top of tower. I don't think there's any, like, quote unquote free bosses left aside from dolls at this point in time.
And here's the moment of truth. It is dolls and dark imps. We got 2 free fights down here, but the dolls is the one that's important. You can use an hourglass to stop the blue dolls. They do not have the boss bit, so that's one way of just taking care of them pretty easily.
It does look like he's going to end up going for the Toad strats with that Rydia instead in this case. Just Toad those back dolls that they can't turn into big Calbrena, and this fight will be over as long as, well, no, looks like it was Virus instead. Looks like he's just going to try and bash this down as quickly as he can, and hopefully they won't transform.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, ooh, Big Doll has awoken. That is going to be pretty scary here.
Yeah, he might just be thinking he's not too concerned about that Big Doll with being able to berserk that Edge, being able to nuke down with Fu, and maybe that was just the plan there is, you know what, this will be faster than trying to stop those dolls from transforming. I'm not sure it's going to actually turn out to be that way, but it is going fine.
As long as he can defeat the Calbrena before it splits back up into the small dolls again, he's in good shape, because I don't think, like, that Edge with the adamant armor, I don't think he's worried about death. But as you see, when it splits back up like this, now you've got to go through that all again. And that's really going to be the thing, is that you've got to either get rid of all the small dolls or the big doll. Both of them have that clock, and that's just going to make it so much more difficult at this spot. Those blue dolls have a hefty amount of HP in this King of Monsters spot.
Yeah, he is having a little bit of a rough time on this. He could just end up throwing that Toad at some point in time, but it looks like he's just going to try and target out his damage a little bit more evenly in this point in time, kind of do the boss the vanilla way at this point. We have seen Rybon has finished up his level grind down on the bottom left here, is going to pick up that full moon at Sylph Cave, and we're going to see if there's going to be any sort of divergence from here at this point.
Yeah, and since Rybon had picked up that other full moon, upgraded that second short sword to a second full moon to have a bit stronger. This is, I don't think it's quite as good as the double long swords that Asporian has, but it's a pretty good pair of weapons for Edge in this flag set.
Yep, and we have seen those dolls are down. We're about to see what the item reward is here, and it is a white spear for a cane that we don't have, but at very least it's a good dart. So that's something, and that is most importantly an objective at this point in time. So 3 out of 4 objectives for working at this point. All he needs to do is find that darkness crystal or find both pieces of the forge and the pass, and he is in go mode.
Yeah, that was a good, smart switching up of the strategy right there. Rybon checking that free key item chest. It is the stand ruby, which we know is a duplicate Edge, so no help there.
Yeah, I don't believe Workin actually picked up the sand ruby. I don't think he actually looked at the chest.
No.
But, I mean, it's not going to punish him any for having not grabbed it if he doesn't go back for it, because it's worthless in this seed because we have the no dupes flag on.
Yeah, I think he fully intended to just wait until he walked out to check that chest. So, yeah, here we go, picking up that sand ruby right now. Now, that might be a little bit of a time loss for anyone who hasn't gone to, like, I think it was Ascorian that we saw go to Kaipo earlier and check that character. I don't think anybody else has. So if they're hoping to find a Rosa, then they might go back there and just take the time to do that. But as it stands, Rybon might not even bother, after putting all that time to level up Porum, might not even care about replacing her with a Rosa at this point in time as well.
Yeah, I gotta think that this late into the seed, where you're at 3 out of 4 objectives, you're pretty much 1 away from go mode. You gotta be thinking that sand ruby's not that appealing, because I don't want to fly all the way there. Maybe if I have a reason to go there later, I can go for it, but at this point, I gotta think you're just gonna skip it. And we do have a sparkle behind the throne here at Dwarf Castle.
So we've got Plague, D, and D Lunars left. So, right? I think it's got to be one of those two.
Yep, and those are the two options here. So it won't be anything too worrisome if it's Plague. D-Lunars can be scary if you get them in the wrong spot. I can't remember if this is one of the spots where they're worrisome or not.
And it looks like Escorian and Jay Brown have both defeated Evil Wall. So all of our runners now in the underworld. It is the Lunar here in the first boss in the Dwarf Castle, and we know that the second boss is going to be Mega Sisters. Looks like we do get some divergences. Rybon is going to use that Luca key and check this thing, or at least going to plop a save there so that he can return there if this whatever check he makes doesn't pay off. It looks like he's going to go check the Fabul Sheila checks.
And I like this play because, you got those two freebies on the board right now. You're one key item away from go mode no matter what. I think taking these two freebies definitely the right choice here, because if either of those is the Darkness Crystal, even if those just happen to be both pieces of Forge, that's a huge bonus there.
Without a doubt. So it's going to be interesting. Quest for Workin got past those undead dragons without too much problem. Now fighting the three sisters. This is not going to be a difficult fight at this location. That Quake is probably going to take them all out in one go.
Definitely not. And here is the Sheila chain. We're going to see if that pays off. Spot number 1 is a ribbon, so that's no. And the Darkness Crystal for spot number 2, that is go mode for Rybon.
Sheila has the goods. So Rybon's going to have to go up to the moon and complete that cave Bahamut. Will be rewarded with the crystal, and then can head right on over to the lunar subterranean and walk right down to Zeramus. So not got. The question is going to be, is the character going to be relevant for Rybon? Probably not, since the grind, as we talked about earlier. And also, does Rybon want to do any more grinding, either in the Cave Bahamut or Lunar Subterrane? But other than that, I think he's in pretty good shape right now.
Definitely. I mean, you definitely won't take the character there, but knowing what the character is could be helpful. And a package out of Dwarf Castle is... Speaking of character checks, we've seen 4 edges so far. This could be edge number 5 and 6 if we see those two. So that could be quite a quote-unquote exciting moment for our runners here. And it looks like Christopher Workin going to head back into the overworld and check those pans for himself. So he's going to be in go mode very soon as well.
And actually not too far behind, Jay Brun and Escorian are both heading to the Land of Summoned Monsters. So we'll be able to take on those dolls as long as they don't give them too much trouble. All they have to do is go up to Sheila, and they're going to be right in the same boat as Rybon and Christopher Workin are. So this has been a very good race.
It really has. I mean, that divergence just paid off for Rybon early, just got that little bit of a lead, and it's stayed pretty consistent since then. But it hasn't been growing too terribly much. The only thing at this point in time that's going to be a huge difference and a huge time sink for our remaining runners outside of him is everyone else still has to do a level grind of some kind, unless they're going to try and do low HP strats on the Z fight. And I got to think that's not going to be on the table. So at this point, it is kind of looking a bit like out of the Restream runners, it is sort of Rybon's to lose at this point, depending on how this Cave Bahamut boss goes. But this still could go anyway.
And we see Jay Brun using that Toad strategy that you had mentioned a little bit earlier, Enth, to deal with these dolls. Also using a cover strategy with Cecil. You see all the other characters having just 1 HP, or 60 in Rydia's case, so that any physical attack that goes at him, Cecil will block. He's in the back row. I believe he's got that adamant armor, so that's going to be... They're basically not going to die. So it's a pretty safe strategy that Jay Brun is taking here. You like to see it. Like, know what you've got available to you and use it to your advantage.
Meanwhile, speaking of Rybon, down on his corner of the screen here, we are seeing what is going to be the penultimate boss of this seed for him, and it is Elements at that Cave Bahamut spot. So not the free vacation you were hoping for here in Cave Value. Instead, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a slow grind, but it does look like he's just going to set up these reflect strats with that Fu and Rydia and try and get through it that way, which probably is going to be the fastest way through for this party.
Yeah, the way that Final Fantasy IV handles this fight is still a strong physical, though. Sorry. The changing of the four elements is treated as a counterattack. So if you do direct damage, it will trigger the counterattack. Mylon will transform into Rubicant, etc. But if you reflect it, any reflected damage does not trigger counterattacks. So you can do it all on Mylon, which is weak to fire the entire time. Plus, halfway through this fight, after Rubicant turns into Keinatsu, there's an HP refill that you can skip here. So reflected strategy is a smart way to go as long as those physicals don't kill you beforehand. And they didn't for Rybon, so that is going to be objective number 2 complete, and this should be the crystal awarded to him.
Yeah, and we'll see if he decides to take any more of those sirens. He's up here on the moon, could quickly just go for that Warlock or King Ryu grind at this point in time if you wanted to do a few more. Meanwhile, Jabrun taking that, what we know to be the wrong direction at this point in time, going down into Sealed Cave instead of chasing that pan.
Yeah, and this was a gamble that the other runners had available to them as well. And if this is where the Darkness Crystal was, this might have been a different situation, and Jabrun could have made up some time while Questiver and Rybon were doing other things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really do think that he's making a smart gamble at this point in time. He does not have access to the information that we have that tell us that this is not going to pay off. So it does work on that basis of, if you just think of, would this be a good move with the information available? Yes. To us, no. So it's one of those things where it's not a bad decision, it's just the wrong decision today.
Right. Rybon getting a peek at the last character, Palom. I don't believe he took the Mysidian Genius here, but I didn't actually watch that moment. It is the spoon at the bottom of the Sealed Cave. That's a quick reset for Jabrun. So it didn't actually burn too much time. It is a bit of a long walk, but with the save outside of the dungeon, means that you can get out of it really early. And unlike a lot of dungeons, you get to see the key item before you fight the boss in that case, so that helps too.
Yeah, meanwhile, we have the two dueling grinds up on the top half of the screen, both Quest for Workin and Discorian going for that grind right now. Neither has gone back above ground. Well, Questifer's gone back above ground, gotten that Darkness Crystal. Discorian has not yet, but I feel like, just from the way I've watched her run the seed so far, that might be a possibility that she'll just check those freebies before doing anything else. Meanwhile, Jabrun has escaped the underground and is heading to get his Darkness Crystal as well.
All that while Rybon is walking down to the bottom of the Lunar Subterrane for the end of this run, and we're going to see that final boss before too long.
Yeah, it is just this long walk down, and again, a quick reminder that there are other racers in this race who are not on the restream today. This is our community race, so anyone is welcome to join. If anyone watching at home ever wants to run, please, by all means, join our Discord. Make sure you join in the fun one of these Monday or Friday nights. So it does look like Rybon is in the lead on the stream, but any moment now, there's that fun tension that we always have in these community races of, is someone going to finish while we're waiting for the first finish on the stream?
And it looks like Rybon does want to take some more battles here. Turned on, the random encounters must be out of those sirens. Does find a King Ryu, Jing Ryu fight, a gold and silver dragon. This is one of the best random encounters for experience on this floor, so very nice find, but it's also a pretty common encounter. Very good for experience, and so definitely taking this and not getting the double experience, but it's still going to be a good chunk of levels. It looks like probably looking for, if I'm if I'm thinking, it's probably some extra hit points on Forum and a few more levels on Cecil would be nice.
Yep, I'm just going to answer a question real quick in chat from Brave Hero 400. So asking there the flags, why do we, the 1 through 5, why do we need the item list? So in the randomizer, the items gate what you can and can't access as well. They're not just, items that you have, they're also keys to unlock other parts of the game. So like that Twin Harp gives you access to the Boss and Cave Magnus, the Baron Key gives you access to Baron Castle, that sort of thing. So while the 4 objectives are necessary for determining whether or not you can get the crystal to go fight the boss, the items are there so that we can know what is available to our runners at any point in time. And another quick shout out, speaking of snipes, we do have our winner tonight, one of the off-stream runners, as PK4787 has finished in first place with a time of 1:16:37. So GG's to him.
Yeah, big GG's to PK, one of the great runners in our community. So congratulations on winning this community race. And now we are into the lunar core, so I think we're getting close to the end. So I think we should be asking a certain question. You want to go ahead and ask that, Ent?
Sure, but first I want to give a little bit of context to anyone who's new while we're still doing this last bit of walk. So there's only so many things that we can randomize about the end game in here. Zeromus is way stronger than every other boss in the game. The rudest boss location has nothing on this fight, so we can't move him. It wouldn't be fair. But you still want to randomize him. So we do get to pull from a pool of, I want to say, about 530-ish sprites at this point in time. I'm sure Scala Kitty, who has done most of the sprite work for this in chat, will let us know. And we're going to ask very, very soon here, when this crystal comes out, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Absolutely, because it is butt time as Rybon is entering the final battle. And we're going to see what happens now. This is going to be, like, Rybon didn't do a lot of extreme leveling. Both Porum and Rydia are pretty low on HP compared to how much damage Big Bang can do, which is the primary attack that Zeromus does. We also have a kind of a wonky agility situation with Fusia as our agility anchor today. So it's going to be interesting to see how this handles. I say frequently, Zeromus is no joke. Do not take Zeromus lightly. Hopefully everything's going to go well for Rybon here.
Yeah, anyone who watched a lot of those Lolly Ho League races will understand definitely that any given Z fight can just go wrong for no reason whatsoever. And, well, not no reason, but any reason, so to speak. And, at any point in time, this could go badly. I think at this point in time, it's going to be down to Rybon's Big Bang nerfing prowess at this point in time.
I might need chat to help me out. I don't know who this Nova Buzz is.
I don't either, and I intentionally said nothing in the hopes that you would. So.
Oh, Nova from Azure, Gunvolt Striker. Those are some words. I'll give it that. Probably a great game. I've just never heard of it.
Yep, I think this is one of the ones that does fall under the yes category for the secondary is but cute question as well. So that is a good bonus as well. We are seeing this fight going pretty smoothly so far. Does have the Silk Web down, is just getting those Berserks up. And first Big Bang about to come out at this point in time. Has the wall up on Rydia to bounce off those nukes. I think this is going to be a pretty quick fight as long as nothing goes wrong. It's just a matter of if something goes wrong, it could go wrong big time.
Meanwhile, Ascorian does check the Job Dwarf, and the Job Dwarf is a Special Forces officer today.
Yep, always nice when our runners take a quick visit over to our friendly Job Dwarf, one of the other little Easter eggs that we randomize in this, randomizer. And she's going to go up to Fabul now, check that pen, going to have that Darkness Crystal in hand, already has her grind done. So at this point in time, it's just a matter of, for the other three, getting to Cave Bahamut, getting through Cave Bahamut, and getting down to that Z fight. And I gotta think, Christopher Warkin has a little bit of a lead over the other two. Jay Brown already on the moon doing his level grind. This could still be a very close race between those three at this point.
Without a doubt. Here comes the shake for the next big bang from Zeramis here. Let's see if Rybon's going to try to nerf this one. If you use an item, and it looks like he is, use an item that produces a nuke counter after the shake, you can, if you time it right, you can make it so that the Big Bang does significantly less damage. The timing is a lot more difficult. The first one's very easy. Just any time before the first Big Bang, it'll be reduced damage. But after that, it's just the right window that you've got to get it in. And we'll see if that hits, or we might have gotten enough damage here to get through the HP refill halfway through the fight, in which case we'll see another shake before the Big Bang.
Yeah, there is a lot of damage coming out here on Rybon's side with those two nukes going off. The two Berserkers just really slashing away here at this Novamus. I think that he's safe, but it's going to be a close one here.
Well, there was the two shakes in a row, so that means we've gone through the HP refill part. So now we've got to nerf it again because now another one's being set up. And if we want to get that reduced damage, and it looks like that's Rybon's strategy here. But the Big Bang hits beforehand. This could spell doom for Rydia and Porum here, depending on how much damage it does. And yeah, they both go down. Still 3 characters up. So if Rybon can get a cure from, and there's Cure 4 was queued up, so it should be good to finish out this fight here. It looks good for Rybon at this point, is what I would say.
Yeah, he didn't want to lose that Porum and Rydia because it is going to slow down his team, especially with this black hole coming out, going to need to re-berserk that Edge and Cecil at this point in time. But you feasibly can get through the rest of this fight with just that Edge, just that Cecil, just that Fusoya. So I think he's in good shape. It's really just a matter of getting out these cures so that we don't have anyone else fall over, getting those berserks back up. Cecil living with 200 health there. But
I think one of the more difficult things is by the amount of healing these Cure 4s are doing, I think Rybon put that curse ring on Fusoya. So those Cure 4s not doing as much healing as you would like them to do, but it might be enough in order to get this done. We saw the single target nuke that wasn't a counter nuke. That means we're in this phase. What we're hoping to see, and here we are, Meteor, rocks are falling. We are in the final phase of the fight now.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much over at this point in time. It's going to just drop that Cure 3 onto Cecil. So that is going to be pretty safe from here. You would need at least 2 more Meteors for this to pose any danger, and I don't think we're going to see a second one.
We see just going through anything in the inventory to try to revive that MP, because that is one of the caps on Fusoya, is that 190 MP goes real fast when you're talking about endgame spells.
That's that final desperate push here with no items to get that Fu back online. Just needs to live through these Meteors at this point in time. This could take out Edge and Fu. It by himself at this point needs to just do enough damage to take out this fight.
Oh, this is getting so close here. Oh, come on, Rybon.
Think one more hit will do it. This is going to be very, very close here.
And it is. We've got it. Ooh, yeah. That was probably closer than Rybon wanted to have it, but it was successful. Zeramis goes down, and Rybon is the first of our restreamed runners to have completed the community race tonight.
Yep, and is second place overall with a time of 1:25:42, and right on his heels are 2 more finishers off stream. We do have Plumeria Knight with third place with a time of 1:26:02, and Dekar Smash at fourth place with a time of 1:26:06, so only 4 seconds separating the two of them.
Yeah, just well done by Rybon. Didn't like it could have spelled doom when that Big Bang took out the mages, but able to recover with just Fusia and the two physical attackers, just getting enough hits in to do it before the team goes down. Well played by Rybon, and well deserved second place tonight.
And speaking of which, joining us is tonight's second place overall, first place on stream, Rybon. First of all, GG's on a very, very well-run race.
Hey, thank you very much. That was quite the Zeromith fight at the end.
Yeah, it was a little bit. We thought everything was going well, and then like Meteo, like, oh, too many Meteos coming, but you had just enough power in the tank to get through that. Were you worried about Fusia's MP at that point?
Yeah, I definitely probably should have used a Psych or maybe bought some Ether before I made it to the moon. So I was actually a little worried at the end, but luckily it all worked out.
Good. Now I might have missed it, but did you never turn in that pink tail?
Actually, I never did. Did anybody do that and find out what it actually was? Was it a crystal sword and I completely missed out?
No, adamant armors are on in this seed. So there was an adamant armor waiting for you right there, but you didn't need it. You got through the whole seed without it. All three of the other runners have got that in their inventory, but
well, it definitely would have been helpful in the last fight, but
yes,
you didn't need it after all.
Yeah, and you proved that you didn't need it in the end. So in the end, really didn't make much of a difference that you didn't go for it. Speaking of, sort of those routing decisions, your early game was very different from our other runners on stream. Do you want to take us sort of through some of your thought processes that you had early, like, being the first to get through that Fabul fight on stream, that sort of thing?
Well, I knew that clearly I had the food starting, and when I got to, I think when I was doing the cave with I can't remember the name actually, the waterfall pass, I checked food to see if he had exit, and he didn't. So I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to drop into Antlion immediately without exit. So maybe I'll do Fabul first, for example, and maybe exit will pop up, and luckily it did. I think that saved me a little bit of time afterwards.
Yeah, and doing that waterfall pass, you found that self summon, which is, since the other runners didn't do that looting in there, their Rydia was a lot less powerful than yours was early in the game.
Yeah, unfortunately, I kept on forgetting what happened when you summon against a Pale Dim or Wyvern. So I had a couple mistakes there that Sylph didn't do me too many favors, but otherwise, Rydia was actually a very useful member of the team, and I'm glad I was able to let her hit things rather than take a nap the entire time.
Yeah, very big victory for Team Let Rydia Hit Things today. Another thing that I noticed is that we sort of got that, big chain starting from Twin Harp that led you through Earth Crystal, led you through Baron Key, led you to the Pan, led you to Darkness Crystal. What was going through your head when you were going through that chain? And as a secondary question to that, why did you go for that Pan a bit later at that point in time, go for that grind right away?
Well, generally, I've had a lot of bad hook feeds where I'm stuck with a very difficult boss waiting for me, either a King, Queen, Evelyn, or hook. And in this case, I think I probably was looking at an evil wall at the Rubicante spot. So that would have been a little difficult. So I wanted to try to maximize my chances to gain levels, gain advantages on the overworld first. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe Twin Harp will turn into something, and it certainly did, both into the treasury and to the Zot check, and which kept on allowing me to power up a little more before I attempted that hook route. I didn't immediately jump into the pen because I knew that I needed to do the King of Monsters down in Feymarch in order to clear that objective, and in order to do that, I wanted to pop a bunch of eggs first because there was no advantage to wait until 10 key items, so I had 17 sirens, may as well do it. Did the Leviathan spot. It actually wasn't too difficult, especially when I had 2 Quakes rather than 1, but even then I did have Hourglass 2, so I probably didn't need to wait so long. Regardless, it still worked out, I suppose.
And did you have any other final thoughts about this run or this flag set that you had tonight?
The flag set's very fun. I know it's called To the Moon and Back. I didn't make it back to the Earth after going to the moon, so it didn't necessarily work out that way, but it reminded me a lot of Sea Hero, and I'm a big fan of it. I'd like to see more of it.
Yeah, that's something that we discussed at the top of the broadcast, that it seemed like very similar, just some minor tweaks to it. The fact that adamant armors were there is one thing, but I won't rib you too much on that right now.
Yeah, I'll try to remember that next time around.
All right. Well, once again, GG's, thank you for letting us watch you run tonight, and thanks for joining us in the booth for this interview as well.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for restreaming, and see you guys next time. Take it easy.
All right. That was our first of the 4 restreamed runners to finish today, and our second overall in the community race, Rybon. Make sure to give Rybon, as well as Quest for Work and Escorian and Jbrun TR, a follow for showcasing a really good race. As it looks like everybody else is in the final fight right now, so that's awesome. Once again, I want to shout out the restream team that we've got tonight, with Dathis on the restream and Smapety on the tracking. Without them, we don't have a show. So big shout outs to them for bringing you this wonderful entertainment.
Yep. And speaking of wonderful entertainment that we're bringing to you right now, Rybon may have finished, but all 3 of the remaining Z fights are going on right now, right on this stream.
Yeah.
Jbrun a little bit behind getting into it, but everyone else in this fight.
That really shows you how close this fight, this race really was. That everybody's in this last fight at the same time. And it looks like Quest for Work is just finished. We see the flash, and there we go. The Quest for Work is the second of our restreamed runners to finish. It looks like finished in 5th overall.
Yep, with a time of 1:33.07. He is our 5th place finisher for tonight, so GG's to him. We'll get him in for an interview in just a moment. Meanwhile, Esco getting through this fight pretty cleanly, pretty smoothly. Everything just going really, really nicely for her. Doesn't have to worry about HP as much as everyone else has to, because she has that Sid, and I don't think she particularly cares if that Rydia lives through the rest of this fight or not at this point. So she's probably having the most stable Z fight out of all 4 of our runners, just on that basis. Is going to get that nerf on the Big Bang anyways, so that Rydia might still live through this. Meanwhile, Jbrun just sort of getting started on his Z fight, getting those Berserks up, getting that cure up, really ready to go here.
Yeah, we get this great action here for the end of the race. Yeah, and we'll see if we can get Christopher in for the interview as well.
Yeah, he said he'd be in just a moment, so just going to be a couple moments for that. Meanwhile, we have had our 6th place finisher off stream, with Tybalt finishing with a time of 1:34.28. And speaking of which, we had to start a 7th place as well, with Quadrak at 1:34.49.
And I believe we are now joined by the Chocobo himself, Quest for Workin. GG's on your finish tonight.
Work, GG's.
So, tell me about your overall thought on this race and this particular seed that you had to deal with tonight.
So, like in all the seeds I've been playing, I've been fading Fabul. You know, hoping for the triple play. And when I'm sitting here doing all this other stuff, this long chain of, I forget where Twin Harp was, but Twin Harp to music, to Earth Crystal, to Baron, to everywhere else. I'm sitting here going, where's my underground access? Where's my underground access? Where's my underground access? And then it's at the board, I'm like, crap, I'm behind. And I figure my only saving grace is Uncle Fu is basically at full power, and once I get underground, I can just go mode it all, which happened to be true. adamant armor didn't hurt, so edge could
Sure.
go burr. And then I just happened to hope, I just needed to hope that, all the extra stuff I did, finding Wyvern and Zot and getting the pan led to me being able to put up a decent time, which it did. Did anybody find Adamant Legend at all, or did everyone basically follow the same stuff?
Everyone followed the same stuff, and I think you were bailed out a little bit on the fact that it was a hook and not a magma key at Fabul. If it was a magma key, then everyone might have gone and started doing all that stuff. But everyone, at least the 4 restreamed runners that we saw, did that entire chain before even attempting to go underground, despite the fact that they had the hook in their possession. So,
okay,
yeah. So, if it, like I said, if it was the magma key, it might have been a totally different race. But with it being the hook, it didn't end up hurting you as much as you might have thought it did at the time.
yeah. When I saw the hook, I'm like, okay, at least it's hook, so there's a little bit of a level gate there, or right. level / skill party composition gate there. I'm seeing that. I'm kind of peeking at the restream a little bit, and it looks like it's pretty much everyone had the same party as I did.
Yeah, the difference, I think the only difference was Ascorian decided to take Sid instead of Porum at the in Evelyn. But other than that,
yeah, okay.
But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of other options. There was a lot of edges going around.
I'm sitting here going, when I get up to Zot, I'm like, I can't remember, is dupes on or off? I hope dupes are on so I can have double edge. It's like, nope, no dupes are on. Darn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Enth, did you have any questions for Questioner?
No, actually, that pretty much answered any questions I had. Just GG's on a very well-run race tonight.
Thank you. I've recently took a fairly long hiatus, and I'm kind of the ladder seeds have been the flag sets have been real interesting, so I've gotten back into those and doing that. And Sea Heroes is a really interesting concept to me, and I love it. And this is a really cool variant on it. So
well, excellent. I want to say GG's again. Thank you for letting us watch your race, and thank you for joining us in an interview. If you've got any final words, go for it.
Wark, Quay.
Well, thanks again, Christopher. I'll see you again real soon, I'm sure.
Yep, and thank you to everyone for commenting, restreaming, tracking, the whole 9 yards. We would still be here without you, but we just wouldn't have a show to put on because we'd still be racing.
Absolutely. Well, that was our 5th place racer overall and the second of our restreamed racers to finish, Christopher Warkin. And we've just got 2 left. Unfortunately, during that interview, Ascorian had to take an unfortunate reset, and it looks like J-Run did too. Remember, Zeramus is no joke.
For sure. I mean, I've seen during the Lolly Ho League races I've watched, I saw these Z-Wipes just happen to the best of players throughout the whole tournament too. There's just no way you can ever guarantee this fight will get through the way you want it to. And sometimes just the dice land in the wrong way for you. And that's sort of what looked like happened on Esco's side. J-Brun looking like he's going to try and pick up a little bit more XP on some of these Moon Boss locations. Does find this karate here, which is a free fight as long as Cecil gets that second swing off. And I think it'll be fine from here.
Yeah, once again, it's one of these things where it's the timing of the nukes, and if this is what we sometimes refer to as the board face AI, as the counter nukes are always hitting the character with the least HP. That's just unfortunate for Esco there.
Yeah, definitely. I want to give a quick thank you to Frith42 in chat for the 30-month sub streak to the channel. Thank you very much for all of your support, and again, glad we've been able to give you some entertainment through tonight as well.
And here we are going in. We saw another shake. It looks like not attempting to nerf this one. So I believe this is going to be a full-powered Big Bang here, which isn't very good for Rydia, but everybody else can survive. I mean, Edge was low on HP, but yeah.
Yeah, I think she's in a good spot to recover this fight from where it is. I think that first wipe was a little bit... I think she kind of pushed it a little bit harder than she necessarily should have at that point in time. It was a little bit of a dangerous game she was playing with the Zeromus there, and just sometimes you play Zeromus chicken and you get burned on it, and it was just one of those times, but it's looking like it's restabilizing for her at this point in time.
Yeah, here comes the black hole now. You just need to... That gives you a little bit of time for recovery. Just reset up those Bacchuses and Escorian, and I believe Jay Brun did as well, purchased a stack of Bacchuses in the Lunar Shop. That's where they were hiding tonight, so that's a nice little thing. Kind of, we thought it might have been a bit of a impediment to Esco's progress for getting rid of Porab and not having access to that second person who can cast Berserk. But if you've got a stack of them, then you don't really need it anymore, so everything works out in the end for that.
Yeah, and we did have that lucky route through the seed where, with S standard on, where you're pretty much not guaranteed to see Bacchuses, but about as close as you can be to being guaranteed to seeing them without being guaranteed to see them. Did manage to get that route with every single shop available to our runners today.
And it looks like Escorian does have something that we didn't see Rybot have, and that was an Ether 2 to recover a bunch of Fusia's MP, because of course that is a bit of a difficult thing when you're dealing with casting end game level spells from Fusia, is the very limited HP or MP pool. Oh, I can't even talk tonight.
Yeah, she does have that nuke out right away to nerf that Big Bang. It does go on to Sid, the counter nuke, so that's a good thing because Sid is pretty likely to survive. And meanwhile, off stream, we just did have our 8th place finisher, NG Dave, with a time of 1:44.04.
Yeah, Dave been around for quite a while as well in the community, so great to see NG Dave completing in the race tonight.
Definitely. Meanwhile, Jaybrun has made his walk back to this Zeromus fight, ready to take it on again, having taken a couple of those bosses just to get an extra bit of XP. Meanwhile, Esco does have a little bit of a trouble going on right here. Everyone a bit low on HP.
Yeah, unfortunately,
needs to get everyone back up.
I think the nerf, like I said, the first Big Bang is very easy to nerf. The other ones, the window of when you've got to get it set up, isn't an easy thing to do, and I think that kind of bit her there. Hopefully she can still recover, but here comes the Big Bang before able to get that crystal out to nerf it. So this might... It's not definitely... Oh, yeah, that's the end.
It is unfortunate. I'm sure she'll be ready to take another stab at it here. Just needs to keep going and just needs to get that one run through at this point in time on her way back down. Meanwhile, off stream, a 9th place finisher as Bro is hit with a time of 1:45.05. But I just want to give a quick shout out to Ascorian's tenacity here and going for it this 3rd time at this point. And just, heading straight down there, going for it as best as she can, and, real good spirit there going for it here.
We'll also say it's one of the subtle challenges of Sea Hero is not being able to deal with the agility that you might be used to in other situations. If you're using that first ring, then you're probably okay with the agility thing, but you're really hampering Fusia's ability to cure. And if you're not using the cursed ring, then Fusia can probably cure all right, but that then those big bangs might be coming out a lot faster than you might like them to. So it is one of the challenges of Sea Hero is kind of walking that minefield, which either way, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than you might normally have it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can try and look back and sort of hindsight is 2020 it and maybe say, you know, maybe could have taken the kept the Palom instead of the Rydia and had her curing like that. Maybe could have had any other things. Maybe you could just try leaving the Rydia on the floor at this point and just straight up just cure spamming Wiz Fu and trying to just keep the other 4 alive, because I feel like if she wanted to just tank those fully powered big bangs with the other 4, they would be able to take it. But, you know, she's making the best of what her current situation is, and it's really just bad luck at this point in time what keeps happening.
Yeah, that last round, a lot of the nukes really targeted that edge, and that really hampered her ability to deal enough damage. Going to try a different arrangement of the characters this time around. Maybe that'll help and get the characters' turns in the order that she wants them to. Meanwhile, Jabron taking this second attempt after the grind, so definitely has more HP on his team right now. Going with some reflected third level elemental spells with Rydia to do some extra damage for a kind of a hybrid strategy of damage with both berserking and reflecting those spells.
Yeah, at this point in time, I mean, all this damage really, really, really counts, because she's... I mean, there's 2 ways around the situation where you're wiping at this point. You can either try and figure out a way to play the fight safer, or you can try and figure out a way to make the fight end quicker so you don't get to that danger point where everything starts to melt down. And going for that sort of reflect hybrid strat is sort of an indication that, okay, we're moving into, we're going to try and knock this down before it gets too dangerous.
And that black hole will give Jabron a little bit of time to recover here. Throwing up those life pots. The question is, I imagine Porum or maybe Fusia can do some good, but you really want to get Porum to heal, because once again, I guess we'll see. I don't remember if Jabron is using the first string strategy here. We'll see by how much healing this Cure 4 does. Yeah, that's pretty real. I think that's a first string Fusia.
Definitely. I almost wonder if there was an opportunity where we had the crystal ring, we had the admin armor, if maybe it had made sense to put a couple of those on Fu, if maybe you could have sort of speed anchored with the world's fastest automatic mop now available at Bed Bath & Beyond here in this fight. But you know
that, I think that's something that they could have considered. I think in the end, putting it on Fusia for this fight is going to hamper your ability to deal damage, though. Instead of putting it on either Cecil or Edge, you can really do a lot of damage with the Berserk strategy.
Yeah, I mean, these Z fights are always a puzzle, and you can always try and rearrange the pieces, but often those pieces are locked into place by what the rest of the seed dictates, and that's going to play into it. It does look like we're going to see this next big bang down on Jabrun's side is going to psych that Edge with Fu to try and get that MP back, and does have that big bang nerfed, so everyone will live through it. Going to be pretty safe until the next one.
Going as safe as possible. It looks like even Cecil getting in on the healing here. Excuse me. But it looks like Escorian's run is going really well this time around. We'll see. Looks like this, I don't know if this is just a damage or if it's an attempt to nerf, but you want to see it hit that Rydia. I think that's the best possible target for the counter.
Yeah, I think she's given up on trying to keep that Rydia up at this point in time. I noticed she used a Bacchus wine on the Rydia at this point in time, thinking, you know what, this is just going to be about keeping this rolling right here, clogging the queue with those Berserkers to slow Zeromus down a little bit. Is going to pick that Rydia back up. I think that she'll be fine through this next big bang, but I'm not 100% sure. This is looking like it's not going to be nerfed, so it's going to be a little bit scary, but we'll see what happens here.
I think Cecil and Sid will definitely survive. Uh, I'm kind of 50-50 on Fu, and Edge, it's a long shot, but it could happen. It kind of depends on the damage roll. Like it could go like anywhere from like 1,700 to 2,300 damage for a full powered Big Bang. So that was a nice little roll. That was exactly what Ascoria needed there. Everybody survived, able to get some curing up, and so that's exactly what she needed there. So far so good on this run.
Yeah, and part of what's playing in for at this point in time is that she has gotten the quad berserkers to slow this boss down through that, and
Yes.
there are rocks. We're in the end of this fight.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like, I think that was really smart using Rydia with that Dragon Whip and the Berserk, even more of, as you say, clogging the action queue, because that's kind of how Final Fantasy IV deals with turns. And there we are. Ascoria has finished the third of our featured runners to finish the race. Big GG's to Ascoria in there.
Yep, and that will be our 10th place finisher for tonight. She is finished with a time of 1:52.13. We're going to get her in, and here she is for an interview. GG's Ascorian.
GG, I guess. That was rough.
Yeah, I mean, that Zeramus was a bit rude to you, but you got through in the end. Nice use of the Bacchus wines on Rydia. I think that really helped you out.
Yeah, I got sick of trying to nerf it. In the end, it turned out just Bacchusing Rydia was the better choice.
So,
she
yeah, go ahead.
definitely did a lot to clog the queue there, get you through that fight. You know, I just want to say real quick, after those first two wipes, very, very good job, not just in, you know, thinking your way around that problem, coming up with that solution to it, but also sticking with it, because, you know, those first two Z fight wipes can sort of hurt a little bit, and you did very well to just stick with it, get through there, and finish in 10th place. I mean, I know before the race you were saying, you know, you were going to finish in last, and you finished sort of mid-pack, so GG's on that.
I'm lucky I decided to follow the chain from Baron. I've always been told by people like Possum and Martin, you follow your chains before you go anywhere else, so I figured follow the chain for from, you know, Heart to Crystal to Baron or something, like whatever that was. Also, why were there so many edges in this seed, Dathis?
There were a lot of edges, I'm sure. I'm sure Dathis has a lot of explaining to do there.
I actually think that was my fault, because I made that joke earlier when we were asking, you know, what you can have for characters, and I said, oh, you could just have 4 edges in the seed, and then there were 4 edges in the seed, so I take 4 edges. That.
Edge in the bed, Edge at Baron, Hooker. No, Sid was Hooker out. He was in the tower. Wish I could have had them all. That would have been a much better Zeroma's fight.
And that actually does lead into a question I had for you. One thing we noticed that was different early on, because there was a lot of divergence between the 4 of you on stream, is you focused a lot heavier on getting that edge online than the other runners that we had on stream did. What was your thought process in, you know, committing that money to those long swords and really trying to push that edge, as opposed to everyone else who was kind of like just trying to coast on the Fusoya?
I noticed that there wasn't adamant on, and I figured Fusoya would be good to put adamant on, but Fusoya is already good as is. So I figure edge is the next best thing to power up.
Yeah, the other big divergence in your run than the other people that we saw tonight was you decided to add Sid into your party. When you were going through Cave Evelyn, what was your thought process in making the switch from Quorum to Sid?
A lot of axes in the treasury.
Yeah, to be fair, there were a lot of axes that we saw throughout the early part of the game, and so that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I ended up selling my ogre axes off, but I had the rune axe, which I put on Cecil, but then I got a light sword immediately after, so it worked out for Sid.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have Any other final thoughts while we've got you here?
No, thanks for the run. Did the other people being restreamed end up finishing before me, or?
You were the third of four. Jbrun just finished just a few minutes behind you.
Well, I thought they all finished before me. Especially with that 2 wipes to Zeromus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I said it during the run, and I'll say it again. Zeromus is no joke.
Yeah. I wish I could have grinded a little bit more. I should have picked up a couple sirens.
Well, I mean, that's all things that it's always a learning process with free enterprise.
Yeah, I feel like I did good for my first attempt at a race, an official race, so I'm not salty about it or anything. GG to the rest of my racer opponents, though, because they were really good.
They were
Absolutely.
really good, and so were you tonight. So again, GG's, and thank you for letting us watch your race.
Thanks for restreaming me. But yes, also thanks to Dathis, Rexarel, Mafety, and Enth because without them, this wouldn't be a thing.
Well, that was our third of 4 racers to finish on stream and 10th overall. Nth, big GGs to her, and we'll see if we can get Jbrun in here for a quick interview.
Yep, Jbrun has declined the interview tonight. We also had another finisher off stream, so we had Rex Banner in 11th place, 154.06, and Jbrun in 12th with a 155.09.
Okay, and so with that, we are going to go ahead and send you on over to Zoe Vermillion, who I believe is running the same race, right? Is running some mystery flags. Sorry, big little bit of a change up, but we'll go ahead and send you on over there. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and hope you see you all again real soon.
Yep, GG's, and good night, everyone.